All right, good afternoon, makers. How are we all doing today? You may notice if you are returning for your third Virtual Maker Wednesday that we are now in a new environment. We now today find ourselves in my kitchen, so that is an exciting development. But yeah, today we're going to be doing something I've never tried before, and it's actually a process I'm sort of halfway through right now because it involves letting the tiny solution that you've created sort of do its magic overnight. So yeah, this is pretty much the closest we could get to doing a full-on like live stream that I would personally feel comfortable with. But the caveat is important just to say that it might not work exactly the way that I would hope it would or that you would hope it would right off the bat. But if nothing else, we'll get a good look at the process. And if we don't end up getting a successful result, I'd be very interested if anybody could post if they did get a successful result, what that ultimately looked like. So today we are making paper clay. Now that is different than paper mache. If you've done paper mache before, you know that usually you sort of just make like a water and glue based solution that you'll then sort of dunk strips of paper into and apply to make some sort of like a statue or perhaps a replica of a planet. That's what we've done before, of course. But yeah, there's a couple different like cool uses for paper mache. But what makes paper clay different is that what we're actually doing is soaking the paper in water. And we're kind of allowing that water to break down this paper overnight. And then, and then we essentially just kind of like mash it together, add some flour and some salt, and continue to stir it all together until we get a sort of malleable material that resembles clay. It looked really great in the research videos and things I watched about it earlier. So hopefully we will be able to emulate that success here today in our makeshift makerspace, my kitchen. So the first step, the things that we'll need for this workshop, you'll need some paper, newspaper works, and so does like regular paper. I'm sadly using some flyers for events that didn't get to happen at the MCL, but we'll be back eventually. So we need our paper. We need a bowl, probably a little bit larger than this bowl, honestly. Like a little bit bigger glass or plastic mixing bowl would be ideal, but this is all I have right now. We need to be able to get water to add to this paper in this bowl. Then we have, this is like a potato kind of smasher. If you have that or like a blender, like a hand blender, that would work best. But this, we're going to sort of use this to like sort of like turn our little solution here into like a more kind of like more clay-like, sort of like making it mushy for lack of a better, more scientifically applicable term. And then some access to salt, flour, and water. So I started this last night, like I mentioned, and the first step to this process is to shred up paper. So either using a paper shredder or scissors. I just use scissors, and making tiny little pieces. About this big. Think about maybe about in comparison to your finger, something like that. Less than an inch, not too wide or anything like that. Then the next step was to add hot water into this bowl with all of the paper strips and let that sit overnight. So I just got done doing that. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that process is to sort of help the paper start breaking down already. And now the next step is for me to take my sort of mashing tool. They recommend a hand like blender if you have one, which I do not. So I'm gonna see how this works. I've thought about possibly bringing in some like forks or butter knives or something if I need a little something sharper. But let's just see how this goes. So this would be our next step here. So we're just gonna try to mash this up. Now already I feel like I have a ton of water in this, like a little bit too much. So this is supposed to happen a little bit later, but I think I'm going to let some of this water go here. And then really work on trying to mash, see what kind of smashing and mashing results I can get from this. So, and it's important that we, why they recommend the hand blender is because they want you to get a motion that is sort of like cutting and bringing this paper together, right? Like turning it even smaller pieces. while also being able to pound it down. So I'm starting to get a little bit of that consistency that I saw in the video that I watched. And I think it's very crucial, like I said, to try to incorporate a little like twisting element maybe. Like we said, we want to kind of get as much of that sort of sharp cutting motion as we can while still doing the twist. So, and this is really fun. It's a little bit messy. So, you know, I'll have to clean this up before my roommate makes dinner, I guess. But yeah, it's starting to kind of, let's see if it's not great. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about down in this area. It honestly, it's sort of similar to the consistency if you've ever chewed on paper. I know that's a little bit gross, but that's essentially kind of where we want to get with this. So that's a good guiding tool. Kind of keep that in mind. Sorry, I don't have a fast forward feature on this video editor. All right, great. Cool. So we're gonna take a fork into the mix here. Just kind of work on whipping the cheese together a little bit. Cool. And like I said, you kind of want to get it to a point where it almost kind of looks like whipped potatoes in a way, sort of a little bit like clay. All right, getting there. Probably about another minute or so of this. We should be able to move on. All right, and I still, even though I already drained it, I still have a lot of excess water. I'm gonna have to do that again. Hope get that out. A little bit of a workout, guys. You know, it's kind of like baking, but a little bit weirder. All right, cool. Sun's making the lighting a little bit better now. All right, getting super close, guys. Cool. All right. Sweet. Wow, that took much longer than I thought it would. I'm sorry, guys. All right, so now we've got our solution to that sort of chewed paper mash that we had referenced before. Kind of see, there's a lot of light there. So help at all. But you see what I mean? There we go. Nice. All right. Now, once we get it there, like I said, there's still a lot of water that is sort of left in the solution. So we're going to go, this is why I kind of wanted to work by the sink here. We're going to pick up sort of handfuls of this at a time. I'm going to try to separate it first in the bowl here so we can have, start a different pile, but we're going to kind of separate it here, start picking out little handfuls at a time, squeezing it out over the sink, right? We want to get as much of that water out as we can, okay? And then we'll put that back in the pile here. So let's do this. There we go. Do it once here. All right, and it feels really fun on your hands, honestly, guys. I think you'll all kind of enjoy this part a lot. already starting to feel very, very malleable and slightly clay-like. So it's good to know that our water soaking from last night did its job, which is cool. All right, cool. All right, there we go. Last one here. Soak this up. And it's interesting, guys. Remember that whenever we started, this bowl was filled about like at least a third, maybe almost 2/5 of the way with paper, probably to about, right there, roundabout. And you can see that now we already, this is only amounting to a pretty small ball of clay, but cool nonetheless. All right. So now that we have our more dried out sort of clay paper bases here, the next step is going to be adding flour and salt. So on the website, sorry, I'm just getting the last couple squeezes here. For the document where I first observed this workshop, it said that it would be best to add 1/3 of flour for about the amount of paper clay that you have. And so I'm not exactly sure if thinking about that measurement of thinking about this, where we started being about a third. I'm gonna try to work with that. And then after we mix some flour in, we'll add some salt. And the salt will actually help whenever it comes time to store this. If you would like to store it, adding salt will help reduce the chances of there being mold. But it's very important to store this. You can store it in an airtight container in the refrigerator. I'd probably label it so nobody tries to eat it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if any babies in the house or younger kids. But yeah, you'll notice that as you mix in this flour, it really does start to feel more and more kind of like clay. So add in your third, kind of, you really just want to work with it. Again, flour is sort of helping organize that moisture. Work this for about a minute here. Probably gonna add a little bit more flour to this. A little bit of salt. All right. Cool. Losing a couple little flakes here, but I think I'm just gonna keep working with this ball that I have here, doing the best we can. Because as the water, removes itself from the paper, the flour actually sort of helps the remaining sort of particles bond to be able to create that new like clay-like material, right? It's very cool. All right. Keep that going there, working that. All right. Just a pinch more flour and a couple pinches of salt here. All right. We're gonna work this all in here. What's fun about once you get the salt involved too, obviously clay comes from the earth, so there's lots of mineral, basically just a mineral depository type thing. And once you get the salt in, it really starts to feel more like clay. You get that sort of like rocky, smooth kind of feel to it, where it's both rough and smooth at the same time. All right, that feels good. All right. All right, guys. Getting closer and closer here. I'm trying to, expedite this process a little bit, just so that we can get to the end here before, the video gets too long. But I would strongly encourage, you guys taking your time in this kind of kneading process, because it feels, it's really good. And I think that if you, sort of pragmatically apply both the flour and the salt, slowly, you'll be able to get a solution that you're really excited about. So I'm actually going to take just one more little pinch of flour and one more little pinch of salt. I think we'll be totally in business here. Um, and we don't make slime at the Millville Library anymore. When you guys were there for food slime, you remember how that got banned. But if you like, sort of maker activities like that, I think this is something that you would definitely enjoy. I would for sure recommend this to any, slime heads out there. Definitely for the ceramic and pottery buffs. It's very interesting. Cool. All right. Now, once you get to a point where it's feeling like clay, they recommend, that you kind of let it sit in the fridge for an hour or two unto itself. Remember to add that salt so you don't get any mold going on in there. And then, yeah, once you're ready to go, feel free to start making pieces with your paper clay. And if you want, you can, if you want to make a piece that you can keep, you're going to want to let this clay dry entirely out after it's been sealed. And then paint it with some acrylic paint, and that will actually do just about the same effect as painting with a gloss, as things equate if we were in a regular ceramic studio. So yeah, I will not make you guys wait while I put this in the fridge for a couple hours. I'll show you that, as you can see, right? It looks pretty much just exactly like clay. And it feels like it too. It kind of moves like it. Ooh, a little malleable, see that? I didn't give it enough time to sort of absolve, but that if you give it some time in the refrigerator, you'll be able to use it. And make sure, like I said, take a lot of time whenever you are actually applying both the baking soda and salt, and also whenever you're wringing out the water, because sort of getting that right balance between flour, paper, water, and salt is what will result in getting a clay that you're actually very excited to use. So, trying to show you guys a little mini pinch pot there, right? Nothing perfect, but for a quick 15-minute video, not too bad. Thanks, guys. Like I said, once you have your clay where you want it, make sure you put it in an airtight container. Make sure you add the salt. Give it some time in the fridge. And then whenever it's time to make something, once you're done crafting something with your clay, put it somewhere nice that it can dry completely. Then if you paint it with some acrylic and let that dry, it'll be sealed. So thank you guys again for tuning in. This was a fun one. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And I will catch you next week. But be on the lookout for more information coming this week, because there might be some bonus craft opportunities coming out of the MCL later this weekend. So keep your eyes peeled. Once again, guys, I'm Roman. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope everybody is staying safe. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Take care.